Welcome back to the It's Only Kids Football podcast, where we talk all things football, coaching, parenting, and try not to have an emotional breakdown on the sidelines. Today, we're diving into one of the toughest, most unique and important positions on the pitch, the goalkeeper. And joining us is someone who knows exactly what it takes to develop goalkeepers, Andy Collett. Andy is a former professional goalkeeper who began his career with hometown club Middlesbrough before making more than 250 senior appearances for Bristol Rovers and Darlington. Since retiring, he has built an impressive coaching career, serving as the first team coach at Oldham, Hartlepool, Darlington, Gateshead. He has worked alongside top goalkeepers including Kasper Schmeichel, Nick Pope and David Stockdale. Alongside his role as a lead goalkeeping coach for Middlesbrough FC's under-9s to under-16 academy teams, and is also the football academy director at Middlesbrough College and leads the Premier Player Football Academy. And you can find his drills on the Football DNA app. Joining me is my assistant manager and co-host Mike Clark, who'll be firing the questions and making sure we get all the answers coaches, parents and young goalkeepers need. So grab your gloves, get some Vaseline and try not to dive
Vaseline
into the sober too. Listen, I'll explain that to you in a minute, Mike, but Andy will know. So grab your gloves, get your Vaseline and try not to dive into the sober too dramatically. It's time to talk goalkeeping with Andy Collett. Andy, how you doing, mate?
I'm very well, thank you, Ben. Yeah, you?
Yeah, good mate, good mate. So the reason I said Vaseline, Mike, is Neville Southall, a very famous goalkeeper who you probably don't remember, do you?
I know who he is. I didn't watch him.
Yeah, he used to absolutely cake his eyebrows in Vaseline. Do you remember, Adam?
Oh, is that why you... Actually, I thought you were saying it because Onana actually cakes his gloves in Vaseline.
Does he?
Yeah.
Surely that's the opposite of what you want your gloves to do.
It's a lubricant, isn't it?
Yeah, well, I've got no idea. I would never do it. But yeah, Onana does it. He was in the press last year when he was having a tough time. He smothers his gloves in Vaseline. The complete opposite of what I would want to do. But yeah. And it was actually Jim Leighton as well who used to put the Vaseline over his eyebrows because he wore contact lens. He wore contact lenses, so he put the Vaseline over. So obviously none of the sweat dripped into his eyes.
So yes.
Well, did you think the start of this podcast we'd be discussing Vaseline
and gloves? No, I didn't. To be fair,
no. We do usually start the pod of talking about Vaseline. Actually,
well, that's up to you guys. Yeah, but each to their own.
The sort of uniqueness of the goalkeeping position and how it's become so specialised. Well, it's not that it's become specialised, it's always been specialised, but now there's been such a greater focus and analysis on what a goalkeeper does, what they do. We're even getting pundits now talking about the movement, positioning, handling, etc. of a goalkeeper. Now we're starting to understand that there's all these different elements to it. So you've got distribution, you've got handling, you've got foot position, decision making, all these kind of things. Some kid comes into you completely raw. What are the things that you're going to focus on? What are the first things that you're going to focus on to get right? What are the basics they need to be developing pretty quickly so that they feel comfortable in the position?
Well, obviously, when someone goes in goal at 7 or 8, they're not necessarily a goalkeeper. They're a 7-year-old kid, 8-year-old kid, and if they go in goal and they dive around and they don't mind the ball coming at them firm, fast, like you said, they might take the odd one in the face. That's a great starting point. Then obviously on top of that, and I'm a massive believer, even when you now working in the academy, is that if you have good basics, brilliant basics I call them, as in, can you move, can you catch it, can you dive, and if you can work on those basics going through the age groups, by the time you're hitting 17 or 18, you should have a decent goalkeeper on your hands. So I would say the fundamentals of, like you said, moving your feet, catching the ball, diving at the ball, and then as they get older, you'll refine the techniques of exactly how to dive, how to catch, using various, obviously, there's not just one diving technique and stuff, but just the basics of goalkeeping. And obviously, we all would love a 10-year-old goalkeeper that can spray it around like Edison. But, the starting point is, does he go in goal? Is he not afraid of the ball coming at him? And if he's got that, I would then say, you know, like obviously people come to us as grassroots managers. Same when I was a kid, the manager's looking after 10, 12 outfield players. He doesn't really know what to do with the goalie. So most goalkeepers, I would think nowadays, generally tend to get external. They'll go to a goalkeeping coach somewhere. You know, when we first started 14, 15 years ago, there wasn't many around, outfield or goalkeepers. But I think nowadays parents are realising, and also managers are realising, managers are probably saying to parents, look, there's a local goalkeeper coach on Facebook, or he's local to us. Why don't you drop in there for 1 or 2 nights a week? Sometimes junior clubs actually pay for it. But I think managers know, you know, because obviously grassroots like yourselves, you know, most managers are dads that have a passion for football. The son might be playing, but they don't really know much about goalkeeping. So I know you can look on YouTube for clips, and you can go on apps like Football DNA and stuff. But generally, I think most parents, most managers now will say, look, there's a local goalie coach. Go and see if he can polish her up. And obviously that's what happens with us, and it'll probably happen down, obviously, in the southern areas as well.
Yeah, I think that is the hardest. That's the hardest part as a coach is, you know, you've got all of those kids, and then you have the goalkeeper. And yes, there's lots of drills that involve the goalkeeper, and that's fine. But there's also lots of drills that don't necessarily involve a goalkeeper. And I think our mantra really is anything that we can involve him in, because it's good to be, you know, good with your feet. So all of the ball mastery stuff, our goalkeeper gets, you know, stuck into that. A lot of the other drills he gets involved in as well. But then there will be points, and it's usually actually before a match, where you're like, okay, what do we do here? And, you know, we're just kind of muddling around and basically just smashing the ball at him. And I've said this on previous pods. I think I might have even said it on the Mark Howard one. Is like, what should you be doing with them before a match, or the basic drills? Yes, you can go on these apps. Yes, they can go and get external help, but then they will come back to you, right? So the grassroots coach will have time with them, and you want to maximise that time so that they're not losing out. Everyone else is getting a standard of coaching, and then you don't want the goalkeeper to just be stood there twiddling their thumbs. So is there any like easy drills or anything that any kind of tips you could give to a grassroots coach to help improve a goalkeeper when they do have them?
Yeah, I mean, I've actually delivered a few workshops for the North Riding FALP here. One of the common mistakes that I always see if I'm watching a game, I'm scouting a game, things like that at grassroots, is there might be a dad with one ball, he shoots at the goal, he curly toes it. You know, the goalkeeper spends more time going for the ball than actually saving the ball. So I would always say, just do some. I mean, listen, the age group that they're at, they don't need a massive warm up. They just need a few balls, and I would say throw the ball at them. Stand them up, throw the ball at them at the nose. Then I'm going to throw four balls to your right hand side to dive. Few to the right, few to the left, and then you might come back a little bit distance wise, but at such a young age, then they don't need a massive warm-up. I think what they need to do is just feel the ball. And if they feel the ball and the coach is giving them lots of praise, a great catch, great dive, that type of stuff, that'll help the goalkeeper more than striking the ball from 15, 20 yards. And as I said, as most grassroots do, if you've got 10 players and you've got 12 balls, the outfielder's got the 10 balls, goalie might have 2. So you can't really, it's common sense to me, is that don't be shooting from 15, 16 yards, missing the target, and the goalie spends more of the warm running for the ball. So just throw the ball, and a quick 10 minutes for me. Even with the college stuff that we do, we don't need to be out there an hour before, lads. Just if you're working in grassroots and you're working with young ones, a few throws left, a few throws right, a few throws up in the air, and a few kicks. And I think lots of praise. The praise is massive. I heard Mark talk about it. I heard PL1 talk about it. We have a coaching company, and do we deliver good sessions? Yeah, I'd like to think we do. But whether you're an 8-year-old goalkeeper or whether you're a 25-year-old pro goalkeeper, if you feel that you're getting looked after individually, it gives you a big confidence boost. And goalkeepers, like anyone, we like a lot of sugar. It's a tough position. And if you have a dad or a coach that's working with a goalkeeper and he's giving him lots of encouragement, lots of praise, he'll suddenly grow, and he'll perform better because he feels more confident.
I'm so glad you brought that up, because it's the hardest thing, isn't it? And it's so difficult when it would be hard if it was your son as well, to be honest, if it was your child. But it's just so difficult when it's not your child and you're giving them this encouragement, but it's just not really sinking in. You know, sometimes this can happen where it just doesn't. You can just feel it. Oh, he's not quite right today. You know, he's not feeling it. He's feeling low. You just can't get him back up to his confident levels. And we've spoken to lots of different coaches around this, and they're in similar boats because they're so young. And it is so difficult because one mistake is a goal. One mistake for a striker, no biggie. They get another chance. You know, it's a really, really tough position. And we try. You know, Mark and PL1 and other goalkeeper coaches we've had on here have been really great in giving these tips and tricks around how to just kind of accept the mistake but move on from it, you know, and how to build their confidence up. How are you coaching that in your sessions? How do you build up the confidence for, say, like a 7, 8, 9-year-old when they say they make a mistake?
Well, I mean, me personally, I am a positive person. I coach positively in my coaching academies. We coach positively. Literally don't allow negativity. And I know it's tough because we're not playing games and we're not emotionally involved as much as parents and as you guys. But and even in the academy stuff that, you know, you see now, there's very little negativity. It's constructive feedback. What could you do better? What did you see there? The language and terminology that you use can really give the better outcome. And as I said, that to me, that applies whether you're working with a 9-year-old grassroots or whether you're working with a 25-year-old adult. If you give feedback and you frame it in a way that's positive, you know, or you're shouting at someone, or your body language shows you're disappointed in them, that'll rub off on them. So I definitely think always trying to be positive. And like I said, listen, it's in grassroots, it's kids football. Does it really matter? I think it probably matters more to the parents. You know, I always think the kid will probably get in the car and he'll be thinking about Ben 10 or he'll be thinking about cartoons. He won't be thinking about the goal unless the parents thinking about it and talking at him. And we all know, we've all seen the adverts about that car journey home, and it is difficult because you're invested in it, but they're only kids. And they're not goalkeepers, the kids. And that's very, very important to remember. And the reason that actually sticks with me a lot, because I think I went into Middlesbrough when I was 13, but I was in the grassroots circuit before that. And I had a really negative grassroots experience, as in parents. Listen, I was playing for a team that was very good. We won pretty much everything. We were winning games 8-9-1. But I remember hearing the parents, it should have been 8-0, you know, and I shouldn't, you know, I'm 52 now. I shouldn't have heard that, but, you know, that's always stuck with me, the way it made me feel at 12 or 13. So I've obviously gone the opposite way in everything that I do. And like I said, I'm a massive believer in being positive, and the way you frame things is really, really important.
There's different aspects, I feel like, to the mental side of the game for goalkeepers, and confidence and belief is one of them. But even more so is concentration. So if you do play for a good team and you're not really, you ain't got much to do, nothing's happening in the game, you're getting a bit bored, especially if it's cold. You're cold and you're standing there and nothing's happening. And then you add into the fact that this is a child who's got a short attention span anyway. How do you help? Like, what do you say to kids to ensure to help them lock in, concentrate and focus and be engaged in the game, even when they're not being asked to make saves?
Well, again, it's difficult because they're all kids and they're all different. You know, one can stand and focus for 30 seconds. One has an attention span of 4 seconds and he wants to swing around off the crossbar. He wants to look over and, you know, what certainly doesn't help, in my opinion, is, oi, switch on, oi, watch the game. Because he's, that constantly. But it's difficult because, like I said, the children, it's the same in the classroom. You can get some kids that are really good concentration-wise. You get some kids that are, just can't stay still. And goalkeepers, if they're not in the game, what happened, exactly what you're saying there is but I was just probably losing concentration because I'd get very little to do. We get it in the Northeast that, you'll get a goalkeeper that's playing for a grassroots team that's struggling. Then you get their phone call, oh, do you want to come to us? We're top of the league, we'll win this, we'll get you scouted, we'll get you that. And he goes to that team. That team might have played his team, won 10-0, but the goalkeeper's outstanding, had loads to do. And then he goes to the top team and he goes backwards because he probably collects a few more trophies, but in terms of getting stuff to do, he goes from one extreme to the other. And for me, from a scouting point of view, you're probably always better off being at a team, from a goalkeeper's point of view, being at a team where you're in the game, where you're getting stuff to do. Outfielders, it's different because obviously they get a lot of the ball, but goalkeepers, it's completely different. In terms of concentration, the usual. Just try and watch the game, try and stay focused, but you've got to accept that, a 10-year-old, once the ball's up that top end of the pitch, you see parents telling you, "Oi, come, get out of the box, stand on the edge of the box." He's 10-year-old, he's not thinking about the through ball over the top. Like I said, he's thinking about the cartoon, he's thinking about what he had for breakfast, he's thinking about getting an ice cream at McDonald's on the way home. So it's real difficult. Like I said, just if you're a parent or your manager, might just be the odd little shout, "Hey, Tommy, just make sure you're watching." "Oh, yeah. But as I said, you've got to accept really that if he's not getting much to do, occasionally he's going to switch off because he's only 10-year-old.
What should a coach or manager be? What can they say to the goalkeeper during the game? What do you think is the right sort of thing to be shouting and speaking to him? I mean, how do you communicate with the goalkeeper through the game to make sure that he's switched on, but not to keep distracting him? I just wonder how the manager can help.
Yeah, well, like I said, I watch a lot of games. I watch a lot of games through sort of academy level to grassroots level, and obviously the academy goalkeepers tend to be there because naturally they're probably a little bit more developed. But they're probably a little bit more developed because they probably have a better concentration level as well as a natural ability, but probably both. So you don't probably have to prod those lads a little bit more. Again, depending on the age group, communication, if you stay communicating, you're staying within the game. But yeah, grassroots is difficult. I would probably just say for a parent and a manager, maybe it's just the odd little, by his name and just a little, hey, keep switched on when the ball's up the other end of the pitch. I know it's very easy that when a a mistake happens or the goalkeeper's not out patrolling the edge of his box, thinking about the through ball, all of a sudden, everyone on the sideline becomes a goalkeeper coach. And, mums, dads, "Hey, Johnny, make sure, watch out for the, ball over the top." And little Johnny, who's 9, he's, like I said, it's difficult. So I would probably say, try and say very little. Let him get on with it. And as I said, if you're an outfielder, you're always in the game because you're going to be involved somewhere. But goalkeepers, it's difficult. So I'd probably just say very little. Might just be the odd little call of the name, lots of encouragement. "Hey, Tommy, keep going. You're doing brilliant. Just make sure we're switched on, yeah." And he'll give you the thumbs up and he'll have a little look at you. That's probably as much as far as I would try and go. Don't give him too much technical information, if any. That is enough. "Johnny, you're doing brilliant." Or if he makes a save when the ball's gone, "Hey, Johnny, brilliant save, mate." And that should be enough.
Quick break. Before we dive back into the episode, we want to take a moment to help you level up your coaching game with the help of Football DNA, the ultimate coaching platform that's been a game changer for us. What do we love about it? It's super easy to use, saves us loads of time, and best of all, it doesn't just show you how to set up a practice, it teaches you how to coach it properly. And that's the key. The sessions are put together by top level coaches. We're talking first team staff at clubs like Celtic, Crystal Palace and West Ham. Proper pedigree. You get videos, diagrams, full explanations, downloadable PDFs, and if you need it, a full 36-week training plan tailored to the age group you are coaching. Our lads have loved the sessions. It's made our lives easier, improved our coaching, and taught us loads. Now we genuinely look forward to training and developing our players. Check it out at footballdna.co.uk. That's footballdna.co.uk, or you can download the app. Just search Football DNA. Trust us now and you'll thank us later.
What about, Andy, when it comes to other forms of concentration at the feet? The modern day goalkeeper, has to be able to distribute the ball well with his hands, but also with his feet. We believe in that as well in our team, even though they're so young, and we play out from the back as much as possible. I do feel like there is an art form in being able to boot the ball as far as you possibly can, and that seems to be leaving the game somewhat, especially at the younger ages. I remember when I was a kid, we had a goalkeeper, one of my mates, who just was able to smash the ball to the other end of the pitch with ease at such a young age. You just don't really see that much anymore. But so two-part question is, should that be coached? Should you still be encouraging kids to be able to almost smash the ball up there, or be able to practice kicking the ball far? But also, just in terms of the modern day goalkeeper, the distribution, are you putting that in to your training sessions? Should you be practicing with them with the short kicks from the back, concentration with the ball at their feet, close ball control, all of the things that you see in the kind of modern day goalkeeper?
Well, I think that comes from obviously the coach and the style that you want to play. We all know grassroots football, you can go from one extreme to the other. You can only play like Man City if you've got Man City players. We see it in the Premier League, we see it across all professional football. Everyone wants to play playing out from the back, the sexy football. The amount of goals that are getting given away by doing that, as long as the manager maybe accepts, listen, we're going to give the odd goal away. Obviously, Pep did it. But in grassroots football, it's difficult in grassroots because you're playing on public parks sometimes you're playing on Astros. But if you, as a manager in a grassroots team, want to try and play from the back, then I would say that obviously involve your goalkeeper in all your passing practices, because that's how he'll develop. The reason outfielders are decent at passing the ball is because that's all they do. If you was to say to an outfielder, right, go and catch the ball, he couldn't do it like the goalkeeper can do it, because the goalkeeper gets more practice. So if you are going to want to play from the back, build from the back, as they say, even in grassroots football, then just say get your goalkeeper involved in all the passing practices. It creates repetition, muscle memory, strength. And then again, you just got to accept that if he passes it out and he gives the ball away, hey, it's no problem. That's the way I accept that. What you certainly can't do is that when he does do that, you jump all over him, because then he'll get fearful of passing the ball out. Like I said, whether it's grassroots or whether it's Pep, you saw it, that if he would accept giving balls away, playing out on the edge of the box, because that's the style that he wanted to adapt, and that's the style he wanted to play. I remember watching him play at the Riverside actually one game, and he went absolutely nuts at Claudio Bravo, because he kicked the ball long on a goal kick. He went nuts, and I'd really never really seen that. But then he's playing it out on the edge of his 18-yard box on a goal kick, but he's playing it out to Yaya Toure, who can hold, I remember seeing him, he was holding Adam Clayton off like he was holding a little boy off. And I'm what's he doing? But it's Yaya Toure. So he obviously had the players to do that. But if you're gonna play from the back and you're gonna try and build from the back, you just accept that you're gonna give some goals away. But like I said, it's grassroots football. You're gonna give goals away no matter what, and it's not life or death. But definitely get him involved in everything passing. That's one of the things that we sort of find at Premier Player when we do assessment 3 times a year. and the ability of players to pass the ball, especially while moving, always stands out as not being great. They love dribbling with the ball, but actually passing it and passing while moving, always, like when we give them the scores, when we come together as coaches, generally at the end, it's like, wow, the passing on the move was poor. But it's actually just, and you always say, we need to do more of that, actually literally in passing lanes, in pairs, and just moving over distances, just getting the action of passing the ball, passing it with a side foot, following through the ball, because kids don't really follow through the ball. They sort of chop down and chop the foot onto the floor, and it's the follow through that's really, really important. So I think if you passing drills, there's a million on YouTube and Football DNA and stuff like that, there's a million. Keep them really simple. And if you do it and repeat it and repeat it and repeat it and dress it up in different ways, you'll get the end result, as in being able to pass the ball. And as long as your goalkeeper gets involved in those practices, he'll improve as well.
And what about the drop kick, Andy? I mean, is that...
The drop kick went out in 1984.
But do you, like with your goalkeepers, or, the ball out of the hands...
Yeah.
When they're collecting it, is that something, do you coach that? I mean, like in all the sort of sessions that you do and different players that you work, is that actually something that you would spend time on working and training?
Yeah, massive.
And what are you asking from a goalkeeper when they're doing that?
So obviously across the two spectrums that I work, so I work in my own private coaching academy, the Keep Academy. So on that one, we do a different curriculum, different topic every week. So literally, you might drop round to kicking once every 8 to 10 weeks. When I'm working at the academy, we do distribution literally every session, whether it be at the start of the session, at the end of the session, because ultimately on a match day, that's what they'll have. That's what they'll do most of. They'll distribute the ball 20, 30 times and make 2 saves, deal with 3 or 4 corners. So you've got to practice at that, because at the end of the day, that it's not a long kick now, it's a pass, and actually, funny enough, down at the, do you remember David James? You guys will remember David James, goalkeeper.
Of course, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so David James actually was down at the training ground, and he was doing something for one of the sponsors, and he works for FIFA, and he said there's a new stat coming out, and it's going to be called, for goalkeepers, XT, and it's expected threat. So if you've got a goalkeeper like Edison who can zing the ball 70, 80 yards, he has a high, so from an attacking point of view, if you were looking to sign a goalkeeper, if you've got a goalkeeper that can play short but also zing the ball 80 yards accurately, he'll have a high XT. And from a defensive point of view, if obviously you're playing against a team with a goalkeeper with a high XT, you've got to be very careful with your back line as to where you are and your goalkeeper. You would make your goalkeeper aware, listen, the goalkeeper's got a high XT, he likes to zing at 80 yards over the top, so make sure that you start out on the edge of your box to try and read things. But that is a pass nowadays, and you've got to practice that. That comes with repetition. It's a technique, we would do literally distribution from the floor, short, mid, long, and then distribution from the hands, mid to long, literally every session, maybe 4 times a week. Yeah.
XT.
Yeah.
The game's gone, isn't it?
The game has. When he said it to me, I was like, come on. And, like you said, it's the modern trend, isn't it, to put something, on a lot of it. I don't really agree with it. I don't really, expected goals and stuff like that. Yeah, but not for me. But like I said, for Sky and for labels, but it does actually make sense. Like I said, if you're looking to recruit and you're trying to put together the strengths and weaknesses, or even a game plan or analysing a team, if the opposition goalkeeper has an absolute zing, because obviously City, they would play short, so everyone would press the ball on the edge of the box, but then you've got Edison who can go over the top, and how many times have we seen him hit, I think back in the day it was probably Aguero, or go over the top. But it's interesting now at City, because if you'd have compared Donnarumma to Donnarumma's distribution to Edison's, completely different. Donnarumma hits it okay, so his XT would probably be low, whereas Edison's XT would be high. because he can hit the ball 20 yards over the halfway line, whereas Donnarumma's probably a standard kick just over the halfway line, not too long. But obviously Donnarumma gives you other strengths. He's 6'7", he makes massive saves, deals with big corners, etc. But yeah, City have obviously slightly changed the way they play based on the goalkeeper that they've got playing in goal.
Yeah, it's a funny one, that, isn't it? The long kick when you're looking at grassroots kids football. So like one big kick, misses out all the players on the ball, most of the players on the pitch, and then it might just go over to the striker. So our belief is playing out from the back, and we feel like we've got the kids to do that. But if you don't, I totally echo what you're saying, Andy. You see it so many times in the professional game. We just watched the World Cup; it was happening constantly, wasn't it? Mistakes happening there, and then you see it obviously way more at grassroots football with that type of philosophy and gameplay. But it is an interesting one because I'm with you. Sometimes you need it. Like sometimes you absolutely need that big kick up the pitch, because especially when they're going through the age groups and the pitches get bigger, and then you get into the biggest pitch and the 11-a-side. If you can't actually kick it to the halfway line, you could potentially be in a bit of bother if you get stuck. So I think you do need to have a mixture of that, and I don't think so. Usually with our warm-ups with Albie, our goalkeeper, it'll be probably, from what you're saying, not enough balls, too much of me. What did you call it? Curly toe in it. I think there's a lot of that happening.
Yeah.
But then also we do have some kicks, so it'll be short kicks and then a couple of long kicks.
How many times have you practiced kicking? How many times have you practiced kicking with him?
We do it before every game, but rarely in training.
Yeah. Like I said, it's tough because you need the space, But I think when you watch grassroots football, you can clearly see almost the philosophy of the management or the coach. Some goalkeepers, most in grassroots, certainly in the northeast, most will just boom it, kick it as far away from the goal as possible, and that's grassroots football. Some very few will want to play, and very, probably a handful in the area that that they will look to pass from the back. Even under 7s, 8s, 9s, 10s, that they will look to pass. And like I said, it depends on who you've got in goal. If you're struggling for a goalkeeper, you'll just take what you can get, and so, like I said, sometimes managers just get the ball as far away from the goal as possible, but other managers, but not many will try and play from the back. So I love the playing from the back, but I think, again, in professional stuff, there's a time and a place. There's the coach sometimes wanting to put his philosophy of we play constantly, but then when you're coming up against managers who just wait for you to play and then press, so I think you've got to be adaptable. Like I said, certainly in pro stuff, because there comes a point, when you go through the age groups in academy stuff, your 9s, 10s, 11s, 12s, 14s, 15s. But once you start hitting the 15s and 16s and 17s, you're thinking, well, what we're trying to teach them here to play out from the back and lose? Or we're trying to teach them to have both options. And from me as a goalkeeper coach, I try and sort of work with the outfield coaches. Obviously, we have a team philosophy and a club philosophy, but I try and equip the goalkeepers. So I say to the goalkeepers, it's like a golfer. I need to send them onto the pitch with the putter and the wood, and they've got every club in the bag. So if they need to clip it over the fullback, they can. If they need to whip it round the fullback, they can. But if they need to go long up to the 9, they can. And I equate it, that's the way I try and do it. And that comes from obviously practice, because if you don't practice, you can't ask the goalkeeper to actually do it.
We're talking a lot there about the technical side, but also decision making. But I also think with a goalkeeper, it's about presence. And I know that maybe presence is not necessarily something that you can coach, but we might not understand the technical elements of being a goalkeeper coach, but we can maybe communicate and talk to our goalkeeper about, right, we want you to make the box is yours. You need to be brave. We want you to have authority. We want you to come for crosses. We want you to stand high. We want you to talk to the defenders. Like if you've got a young goalkeeper with you and you're getting to a point where you want that goalkeeper to develop his voice, and that's about being commanding in the box or telling his defenders to mark or get high or demanding, wanting to get a ball off a defender or come for a cross, all those kind of, just being commanding and vocal, which I think all great goalkeepers are like. Obviously that's about personality, and that comes with confidence, and that often comes with age. But when you're working with a young goalkeeper and the young goalkeepers you work with, what are you saying to a kid about bringing that into their game? How do you introduce that and encourage them to start talking and being commanding?
Well, again, I think that depends on all the factors that you just really mentioned there, the age, the personality. I've had goalkeepers that have been reasonably quiet. I get some goalkeepers that never stop talking. I think the important thing is that the talk at the right moments, when the ball is in the final third, that it's part of the goalkeeper's toolkit. Then it's as valuable as being able to kick the ball. If you can communicate to your back four, open your body up, show the winger down the line, stuff like that. Obviously, it's probably like the senior stuff, but in grassroots stuff, it's difficult because, like I said, they're all different. And I think one thing that I noticed there, and again, this is not me having, when you've said we want you to this, we want you to that. If you frame that as can you, you'll probably get a slightly different response. Does that make sense? I know, like I said, it's hard, but I think if you think about the way you say it, listen, today, could you do this? You'll probably get him nodding his head rather than he'll probably feels a little bit of pressure. Listen, I want you to do this. I want you to do that. A slight change with the wording can maybe get a different response. And again, they're all different, aren't they? I mean, like I said, when the kids, it can be so difficult. But in terms of coming out the shell, yeah, that's a difficult one. And then also, if they make a mistake, they'll probably go into the shell. They'll probably go quiet. But yeah, the amount of times you hear that, listen, get your defenders to mark up. And I always think, well, the defenders can do that. I even said, like, the club, the only when you're dealing with the corner, deal with the corner. Don't be worrying about what the defenders are doing. That's their job. I always say the only person that was really important to a goalkeeper on dealing with the corner is the front post man. Because if you put the front post man in the position that you need him to, it'll force the taker to either deliver it further out or put more height in it, which will give the goalkeeper time. So for me, I always say he's the only one that you really need to focus on. And don't worry too much about the others. That's their job. You then need to focus on the ball. But yeah, I can hear it now. Get him to mark up, get him to stay up, shouting at them. But it's tough. But like I said, I always look at it from a goalie's point of view and the goalkeeper coaching point of view. And it's not to have that divide between the outfielders, but it's like when the goalkeeper's got to deal with what he wants to do, which is the ball, and the outfielders can deal with, tell him to hold the line up. How many times have we heard that? Tell him to hold the line up. Andy, or if I'm in goal, Andy, someone shouting on, Andy, tell him to hold the line up. I think, well, they can hold the line up, but it's difficult. But I definitely think the language and the terminology that you can use, and again, obviously, if we're all trying to improve and we're all trying to make sure that the kids have a good experience, is that is so important. The wording that you use, and I definitely think from a goalie's point of view, if you can think about the word, and this is for all grassroots coaches out there as well, and even me, like when I'm working, you've got to think about what you say before you say it. And I don't have that emotional involvement that you guys do, but it's just the language and terminology is really, really important to sort of get the best outcome for your goalkeeper.
I think that's something that we've always struggled with. I think we've improved a lot, and you've listened to the pod, you've heard it, but it is. And I think you just did something with me, but you wrote down that point, and it made me think maybe we should write down like the words that we're using, the phrases that we're using that we shouldn't be doing, that just blurt out of us. Like I will constantly say things like switch on, or there's loads of terms that I say, and then at the end of the game I'm like, fucking said it again. Like, what? I've been telling myself, don't say it, and then I end up just blurting it out. And it made me think, like, just jotting that down before. And Ben and I have been really good at this, and then we've been terrible at it. We've been really good at, across the seasons, having little prompts for ourselves, speaking to each other, having these ways in which we can improve ourselves before a game, and then it really works, and then you just kind of move on with your life and you just stop doing it and you just forget about it. But I think actually that writing down the phrases or the words that you keep using that you don't want to use, or you want to change the language of. So instead of this, you write this. Instead of that, you write this. And then if you keep writing that down, you probably will just muscle memory will kick in, and you will stop saying the phrases, the words that you shouldn't be using. But being cognizant of that, I think that's the key message here, isn't it? Like, you're going to slip up, but just being aware that if you say this in a certain way, in a more positive way, you might just get that tweak, that little extra % from your goalkeeper or from any of the outfield players.
It is, like I said, it's easy for me that's not involved. But I think, listen, it took me time, to over the years to not make rash decisions, to not say, things in the heat of the moment, like generally even after games now at half-time, I don't say anything. There's no point. I don't say anything during the game because, they're generally, they're not really going to change much. And I think in the heat of the moment, but I think when you are, like I said, what you guys are, if you think about if you were going to swear, you'd think about, wouldn't you? Or generally, well, I would like to think you don't swear, but then you stop yourself. So I think that, like you're saying, it's a cognitive thing. And I think if you think about your language and terminology and take the emotion out of it, which I know it's hard because you guys are investing lots of time in them and you love the kids and stuff like that. But in 10 years' time, you would want them kids to bump into you in the shopping centre or something and say, I love training with you. I love my time with you. Not I remember the time that you screamed at me. And so I think it is difficult, but that what you like on the sideline can, because as I said, I'm 50 and I'm 52 and I'm telling you about something, and it is honestly, it's as fresh as the day he said it to me. And I remember it. And I've seen him a few times since as an adult. And I always remember because my dad never really came to watch me. But I'd gone home a couple of times and, Mum, you're all right? What's up with you? And I was probably 12 or 13, not 7 or 8. And I remember one day, me dad, who used to work, and he went over, and I remember seeing him come walking down, and he pulled the dad, took him to one side. My dad was a big bloke, do you know what I mean? But it shouldn't have come to that, but the damage had almost already been done because I'd heard him talking about me. And at the end of the day, I was a 12-year-old kid. This guy's 35, 40-year-old, and those things can stick with you. And, it's really, really important for grassroots and for anyone, but grassroots to not try and get too emotionally involved in it, because what you say can create positive and negatives. And like I said, I know how difficult it is, but if you think about it before you jump in that moment, you'll definitely get the best. You'll get the better outcome, and the kids will have probably a better experience.
Quick one for the coaches and volunteers listening. If you're sorting kits for a grassroots team, you'll know the pain. It's never as simple as it should be. That's exactly why Discount Football Kits exists. They supply quality football kits at prices that actually work for grassroots clubs. No nonsense, no hard sell, just reliable team wear that turns up on time and looks the part on match day. From full team kits to training wear for growing squads, everything's built to make your life easier. If you're tired of overpaying or overthinking kits, head to discountfootballkits.com and get your team sorted today. Go Cardless makes collecting payments simple with automatic direct debit. Membership fees come in on time every month without watching parents dig through their pockets only to find a crisp packet or race into the cash point while you wait in the rain. There's no more, I'll give it to you next week. You can just drop a link into your WhatsApp group and bingo, payments are sorted. It handles the admin too, automatically keeping track of who's paid, what's outstanding, and retrying any payments that didn't go through, helping your club keep a steady cash flow for pitch hire, kits, and equipment. You can even pause or adjust payments when families need flexibility, keeping your club supportive and inclusive. Go Cardless takes care of the money so you can focus on running great sessions and growing your club. Albie, our goalkeeper, I talk a lot with his mum and his dad about trying to help him with his confidence, because when he's on and when he's switched on and he's enjoying it, he's brilliant. But he can, as with any child, my child has suffered from it, if something goes wrong, it can be quite hard to bring him back. The reason I was actually asking about those questions about being commanding and authoritative was that we had a game the other day and the ref didn't turn up. So, didn't turn up for the first half, so I had to ref, which was a bit of a surprise. Even more of a surprise to the players of how badly I reffed the game. But what I noticed was, what I noticed from Mike being on his own was that when it's really hard, so when there's two of you, one can focus on like what the forward players are doing, and one can focus on what the defensive players are doing. And also, even when we've both been on the sideline together, you're both drawn to the ball, your eyes are watching the game and the ball up the other end. And then what you forget is what's happening defensively. And we conceded a goal and we've conceded this goal about 500 times, where the defenders have pushed up and there's a kid, because there's no offside at that level, the kid's just basically goal hanging. And then one long ball and it goes through to him. And I was thinking, if we were able to get Albie, our goalkeeper, to either so he knows to stay high, but also, tell the two defenders, look, there's a kid standing behind you, because me and Mike are so often distracted by the ball and what is happening at the other end. I was like, imagine if Albie was doing that. He was high up the pitch and he was telling them what to do. That was the reason I asked that question. And I was just kind of thinking about how do I get him.
Be a freak. Because no one does that. No one does that at a young age. They don't organise. They're not thinking about the danger. They're just watching the ball. Same as you guys.
But even the top, even the academy boys that you work with, are they not thinking about those things at that age?
Not really. Not until probably 12 or 13. No.
Right. Okay.
Yeah. Not really. But like I said, they're just human beings. They're little kids. And, no matter how many times I'll say, hey, switch on, concentrate. Well, I don't say that, but I did that years ago. But he's 8, 9. Like I said, he's probably not, he's not thinking about the through ball over the top. He's not thinking about the defender marking on the right-hand side or opening his body out. Once they're hitting 12, 13, then you're adding the tactical side of things to it. And, but that's when the brain can cope with it a little bit more. And obviously the pitches get a little bit bigger. So you might go sort of 7 aside, 9 aside. So then you really then have to try and think about moving out of your goal and coming and adding to the game. But again, that obviously they're a little bit older. What age group is the team that you guys run?
They're good at. So the boys just played under 9s. They're going into. We're going to play a year up. So we're going to play under 11s. But really, they're actually under 10s.
Right. Okay. Yeah. Yeah. So it's going to be one of them. Listen, at 9, 10-year-old, they're not really thinking about the tactics of the game. You could maybe say try and stay connected with your back four. But it is difficult because, like I said, I've seen it hundreds of times. Hey, stand up, get on the edge of your box, and then he'll walk forward, then he'll daydream a little bit, and before you know it, he's stood on his goal line, and the ball comes over the top, and the manager's thinking, where is he? And he's just, he's just like I said, he's just 9.
We've seen that.
Yeah, exactly.
Sometimes when he comes out and then he's like, where the hell am I?
Yeah, exactly.
I'm nowhere near my goal.
He doesn't have his pitch geography, he's only 9, so he's not he's not thinking, where's my box, where's my goal, how do I check my post, stuff like that. But that will come the older he gets. So in the meantime, just maybe have to ask. And what obviously tends to happen is that the natural thing to do is you're a goalie, go and protect the goal. and that's what they do. They stand back and protect the goal. They stand on the line. Even though that, as the pitch gets bigger, the actual danger could be the space in behind, defend the space, as they say. But when you're that young, you're a goalie and you just, And that's why you tend to see probably like goalies' parents standing behind the goal or alongside the goal. They're there to support the kids because they're as nervous as the goalie. But I'm not really too sure how much sort of benefit that can have, because as I said, you tend to constantly, you can guarantee you can see where the goalie's mum or dad is because they're always looking over at the parents, and and generally because the mum or dad is just naturally trying to talk the game for them because they don't want them to make mistakes. So it's hey, push out a little bit and you walk forward 2 or 3 yards. No, drop back a little bit and you walk back 2 or 3 yards, and but yeah, I think that'll generally come with time when the pitch gets a little bit bigger as well.
It's a good point you make, though. I think the goalkeeper is the toughest position on the pitch, especially for a kid because of all the pressure. But it's probably the toughest position as a parent as well, because you are
as a pro. Like Gordon Pickford in the World Cup. You everything that they do gets picked apart, and as we all know, if the goalkeeper makes a slight error, it's a goal. Striker can miss 6 chances, bangs one in, hey, he's a hero. The goalkeeper can make 6 saves, lets one in, he's the villain. So it's definitely, obviously I'm coming from the goalkeeper's point of view, but I've always thought your goalkeepers, your spine of your team is really important. But I think years and years ago, Brian Clough said it, you don't win anything without a strong, good striker and a good goalkeeper. And if you've got those 2 positions nailed on, then you'll do all right. So yeah, I definitely think. I know the outfielders won't believe it, but definitely goalkeepers is the toughest position, the one probably with the most pressure. And people saying, "Oh, the goalkeeper, you've got to be crazy to be a goalkeeper." I think the opposite. I think the concentration and the calmness and the decisions. You have to be brave, don't get me wrong, but I think nowadays, like I said, the goalkeeper's expected to do everything. He's expected to defend the goal, he's expected to defend the space, he's expected to distribute it, he's expected to make saves. His repertoire of skills that he has to do now are a lot more than just keep the ball out the net. That is just the starting point. Now he has to do all the other bits. So I definitely think, it's the most difficult position on the pitch.
The hardest also bit about being a goalkeeper is if a young boy, a girl is an outfield player, they want to get better, go in the garden, do some ball mastery, strike the ball into the goal. When you're a goalie, how do you train on your own? What can a goalkeeper do? A young goalkeeper, they're off for the summer holidays. What can they do if they're on their own? Is there anything they can work on?
Yeah, I mean, look, I think there's, like I said, you can go onto YouTube. There's rebounders. There's, if you've got a brother or sister. But if you were on your own, you're going to be extremely limited as to what you can do. But ball familiarity, throwing the ball up, catching it. Like I said, the rebounders are good. You can get the garden rebounders now where you can throw the ball at the rebounder. You can change the angle. You can do little dives. You can do stuff like that. So I generally say those type of skills. And again, like things like ladders, footwork, movement. And there's absolutely nothing wrong with a ball and a wall. We had a goalkeeper in quite recently, and I just said to his dad, I said, his distribution, he struggles to pass the ball. So what is wrong with, I said, you could either go and pay someone to do a one-to-one. He's a goalkeeper, but I said you could either go and pay an outfield coach to do some passing drills, backwards and forwards, and working on the action of passing the ball, or a wall. At the club we have an astroturf, and around the outside of the astroturf we have like maybe it's like a metre of railway sleepers all the way around, and literally every session the lads come out, they do 6-yard passing against the wall, left foot, right foot, then they move back to 12, then they move back to 18 yards, and it's just a ball and a wall. It's honestly, it's because at the end of the day, if you don't pass it well against the wall, it's not going to come back to you. So it probably forces you to get the action of open side foot, swing through the ball, keep hitting the ball at the right area of the ball, not the top of the ball to bobble it, and not the bottom of the ball to go up. So yeah, I'd say rebounders, footwork drills, ladders. Like I said, you can go on eBay, buy ladders, loads of movement stuff, cones, a ball, a wall, some discs, some ladders. You could have a great time. Yeah.
And a pot of Vaseline, obviously.
And a pot of Vaseline. Oh, listen, that's up to you. You do what you want with the Vaseline in your own time. And whether that's on your own or not, I don't know. But if it was on your own, I would be seriously worried. Yeah.
Right, last question, Andy.
You want, guys, yeah.
No, that's staying. Last bit, Andy. The FA introduced newest format at under sevens, which is 3v3, small-sided games, small goals, and no goalkeepers. We've asked this to Mark, but we didn't necessarily properly ask it on the podcast too much. But I'd love to hear your views on this new initiative. Do you think it's a good thing for the game as a whole? Do you think that goalkeepers are going to be missing out? But at that youngest age group, how damaging that might be? Just your overall opinion on the new 3v3 format.
Well, it's going to be interesting, I think. My initial thoughts on it, and I've spoken to all the coaches at Prem, is we generally all think that where they're trying to get the players to encourage to pass the ball more, I think it'll probably encourage the physically strong player to just keep the ball on his own. That's my thoughts on it. I think kids at young ages, especially, they lack empathy. So if you give a kid a ball, he's not thinking about passing. He's thinking about, I'm going to go and score. So whereas they're saying about less players on the pitch, so you'll get more ball time. It'll be interesting because my natural instinct is to think, I think it'll be the opposite. I think the strong player will get the ball, he'll dribble past 2 or 3 of their players and score. And then he'll do it again. And I think you'll have 2 players stood around not getting much ball time. Like I said, they haven't got limits on passing or touches or things like that. So, as we all know, when they're little, they think the ball belongs to them. So I'm not really too sure how that's going to end up for the outfielders. It's going to be interesting to see how it pans out. For the goalkeepers, yeah, again, that's another one. We are obviously, we start coaching sessions at 6-year-olds, so we're thinking, well, this is going to be interesting. Are we going to still get goalkeepers that are going to want to come and be goalkeepers? I think some teams, if they don't want to play that format, they'll play up. So then they will need goalkeepers. But yeah, I think only time will tell. If you're not going to have a goalkeeper in your team at under 7 or under 8, is it under 7 or under 8 when it?
Under 7.
Under 7. If you're not going to have a goalkeeper, is there a need for goalkeeper training? I don't really know. Obviously, they're going to come in at or under 8, but I'm not really sure. So I think only time will tell with that one. We'll probably have a little look at the numbers, and we're not getting many in at that age group, and maybe that can be the knock-on effect of the new FA game. But on an initial thought process on the outfielders, I think it could be difficult. Yeah.
Yeah, like you say, I agree. I think I am actually going to play it. I'm coaching my youngest team, and I'm intrigued. I kind of believe in some of the positives, or I'm hopeful of the positive outcomes. So, but I am also sceptical for the same reasons you are and everyone else is, and I think we just have to see how it plays out. But Andy, absolutely love this chat. Where can people find more from you, get more from you? Obviously, you're on the Football DNA app. That's where I found you. I was looking up goalkeeper drills on there. You've got loads of stuff on there, which is great.
Yeah.
So people can go and check that out. If you're struggling for things to work on with your goalkeepers, honestly, there is a ton of stuff on there from Andy, and it's great. But where else can people find you and get more from you if they've enjoyed this conversation and want to know more about goalkeeper coaching and training?
Okay, so obviously, we are located in Teesside in the northeast of England, but you can generally, what I tend to do is when I get a little bit of time, I put like tutorials and stuff like that on our Facebook page. So our Facebook page is Premier Player Football Academy. So at our football academy, so we have outfield coaches and we have goalkeeper coaches, so myself and 2 or 3 others. So, but I tend to upload tutorials. You'll find some bits on YouTube. But yeah, that's probably our source. We don't do Instagram too much, but I think there'll be some drills, and we'll upload a load more over the summer, because we tend to, like I said, we tend to try and focus on people like yourselves that listen. I'm an outfield coach. I don't know, how can I coach him? So there might be little tips. We've just done some recently on how to dive, how to catch a high ball, how to set, and they are dead simple. I've recorded a few of them with sort of 17 to 21-year-old goalkeeper, but the key points and the key details are exactly the same for if you were working with an under 7, and that's the way we've set the drills up. So have a look on our Facebook page, and bits on YouTube. Our website, we have a website, but we don't really upload many videos on there. But keep, honestly, guys, I love the podcast. Obviously, the football DNA stuff as well was brilliant. I loved recording that, and we're probably going to do some more because we've done different bits. And some of those guys there's a range of goalkeepers from sort of grassroots to academy bits on there, but it's all relative to, because there still isn't enough out there. The same issues when I was a kid is the same, and I completely agree. That's why there's a marketplace for us to do the outfield and the goalkeeper coaching. There's managers, I think it's unbelievable what grassroots managers do. Unbelievable. They give up the time, they're invested in it. And when I hear people sometimes having a go at manager, I'm like, yeah, go on, you spend your weekend organising, getting subs in and washing kit. So the stuff that grassroots volunteers do is unbelievable. And I think the more we can make grassroots an enjoyable experience, listen, ultimately, there's very, very, very few will become professionals. But I think for the majority, if coaches and parents can make that enjoyable, their experience as enjoyable as possible, both in terms of what they put on in training and then match day, I think because like I said, kids will remember, and I love listening to the podcast because it's great, because like I said, the stuff I've heard on it, I'm like, yeah, that happened to me, or yeah, I've done that myself. And like I said, we're all human. We're all trying to improve and make it better. But yeah, brilliant podcast, fellas, and really appreciate you inviting me on.
Well,
thanks, Andy. Really appreciate it.
I think the biggest point for me was basically understanding what you should expect of a young goalkeeper. When you made that point to me, that was really useful, because I think maybe our expectations are a little bit they're a little bit far ahead of what they should be. But I really appreciate your time. Thanks for coming on. Okay, so we've covered a lot today, from the technical and mental aspects of goalkeeping to the important role coaches and parents play in helping young goalkeepers develop. And the biggest message has probably been this: being a goalkeeper is about making mistakes and learning from them. Young goalkeepers need the freedom to try things, learn and enjoy playing the game. So coaches, create an environment where your goalkeeper feels brave. Parents, support them. Don't analyse every goal they concede on the drive home. And young goalkeepers, keep making saves, keep learning, keep shouting, and most importantly, keep enjoying it. Because the best goalkeepers aren't the ones that never make mistakes. They're the ones who make a mistake, dust themselves off and get ready for their next shot. Because at the end of the day, it's only kids football. If you enjoyed the podcast, please take 2 seconds to hit the subscribe button and turn on notifications so you don't miss future episodes. And if you want to check out our previous episodes, just click here.